starting in
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, this is Veronica.
And I'm Studio Steve.
We are the Pod Sound School.
And this is PodBitz. PodBitz is a quick and easy way to digest the latest news and events in podcasting.
Learn about actionable tips to podcast like a beast.
Listen to our podcast recommendations.
And be in the know with what is up in the PSS community.
And we do it all live.
While the clock is ticking.
Unedited.
And raw.
So get those ears ready.
Crank those speakers up.
And let's dive in. Hey, podcasteros. Welcome back to another episode of PodBitz.
Hello, everybody. I'm Veronica.
So for those of you who are just tuning in, we record PodBitz live on Twitter or Periscope every Wednesday at noon Mountain Standard Time.
We post this episode on our podcast later today, and we also post the video on our Facebook page, Pod Sound School, for replay.
Yeah, so if you miss it, you can always catch it there on our Facebook page. Mm-hmm. And we took a break from PodBitz last Wednesday because we were in LA for Podcast Movement Evolutions. And that was really fun. It was a crazy experience for us there. So
yeah, and I wasn't here for PodBitz 2 weeks ago, so I hope you guys miss me.
Yeah, I missed her. It's I feel so strange doing these things without her. But
anyway, we are podcast coaches, and we'll be launching our course soon. So it's very important for us to attend this podcasting events, and we made it a goal this year to make it to the big ones.
Yeah, we're going to
the next one is Podfest.
Yeah, Podfest in Orlando. So we just got back, and then we're going to go to Podfest in Orlando.
Yeah, but anyway, we want to give a shout out to our members of our Facebook community, Devin Williams with her podcast Brooklyn Kindness, and David Rivas. Mm-hmm. With Breaking Rules podcast.
Yeah, so if
they
you haven't...
are our top contributors for our Facebook group, and they're new podskis, and we like to give shout outs to the top contributors of our group.
Yeah, so go check out Breaking Rules podcast and Brooklyn Kindness podcast.
Yeah, we'll leave the links on the description of this episode.
And for our top contributors in our Facebook group, we give shout outs. So come join our group and contribute, and we'll give you a shout out on our podcast.
Yes. Also, if you're thinking about starting on YouTube, we just posted a video about YouTube optimization and TubeBuddy tutorial you can access by becoming a member of our Overachievers Club.
Yep, and you can find that by podsoundschool.com/premium. And that's where you can gain premium access to our bonus episodes that we provide for our overachievers. And this season is all about monetizing, email marketing, and really taking your podcast up a notch.
Yeah, so for a monthly membership of $5, you can unlock all these goodies.
Which is
so
awesome.
Become a member today.
So what lessons or funny moments did you learn from Podcast Movement?
Well, one of the lessons is that it's really hard to network with a baby. She trashed the hotel room like a rock star.
Yes. And
she's a handful.
She was a handful. We had to take shifts with her, but we were able to go in every other presentation and see a lot of really good presentations. One of the takeaways that I had was the importance of SEO. And it's something that we've been putting off as far as like getting some of the more expensive SEO software programs that you can get, like SEMrush or Ahrefs. But Ainsley Rosito does SEO for NPR. She does it for like 32 shows. And audience insights for SER, and she gave an amazing presentation. I'm actually going to see if I can get her to come on to our show for you guys. And also we're going to put together an episode.
And I learned a lot about membership programs and marketing.
This Week in Podcasting.
A lot of good.
Yeah. And now, This Week in Podcasting. What do we've got, Veronica?
We've got, so Hernan Lopez, founder and CEO of Wondery, announced during his keynote at Podcast Movement Evolutions the new awards for podcasting.
Yeah,
the Academy Awards for podcasting, the Golden Mics. And we were there for the announcement. I think it was very cool that we were there for this moment, that it may become, or it will become, part of the history of podcasting. The founding members include a diverse lineup of media personalities from Sony Music, Spotify, NPR, PRX, and other independent podcasters and startups.
Yeah, and the board will have a total of 17 members on it, and they're still looking to fill those seats. So professionals interested in joining the academy can register at thepodcastacademy.com.
Also, if you want to be in the know about what's going on with the awards, you can also sign up for the newsletter. The awards are meant to recognize talented independent podcasters producing high-quality podcasts. It's also meant to recognize the work of those who are not behind the microphone, like audio engineers, writers, and producers. Lopez said, I want independent voices to thrive, to be able to create their own podcasts, get massive audience, and decide for themselves whether they want to sell their ads directly, partner with a company like ours, make their show exclusive to paywall, get donations to Patreon, to be part of a bundle like Wondery, or any combination.
Yeah, and there's been a bit of controversy around this announcement because there is already a similar award, the Academy of Podcasters Hall of Fame, and that's been around for more than a decade. And, you know, in the audience, when Veronica was there was a lot of excitement going on around the announcement.
Yeah.
And
I remember I texted you, hey.
Yes, but then many of the other, you know, the old timers, the OG podcasters, and even some of the people who are founders of the Podcasters Hall of Fame didn't really, I don't think, had a good reaction right at first with this announcement, and they were worried about it. They were worried.
There were some tweets coming out.
Yeah, there was some, and it was kind of controversial news, and they had no idea that this announcement was coming. But now I think everybody sort of has this idea that we'll wait and see, you know. But I think one thing that is for certain is that big money is just continually getting involved in podcasting, and it becomes more important for us to take our quality of our podcasts up a notch and to really be producing very high quality shows and to join up with other podcast collectives and things like that to compete with some of this big money as independent podcasters. Yes,
and right after the announcement, James Critland was asking Lopez questions and was asking the other members of the award, of the Academy, questions about other podcast awards and how will this impact the other awards. And he said, you know, like in the music industry, how there's the MTV Music Awards and the Grammys, there can be like different kind of awards for podcasting. And I think, in my opinion, the more the merrier. The more we can apply to, the merrier.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's best to just take a positive approach at it and try to win these awards. You know, why not?
Yeah.
And, you know, just get more people into podcasting. This whole announcement, the whole keynote speech, is actually available at the Podnews website, and we'll leave the link here. If you haven't subscribed to Podnews yet, you should. James Cridland is from Podnews. But let's get on to our next segment.
This week in your queue.
Okay, so this week in your queue, I usually try to recognize and suggest more independent podcasts, but I'm always reading Inside Podcasting, which is an amazing newsletter that comes out that you should subscribe to. And Sky Pillsbury always does a really good job of recommending podcasts, and she recommended The Last Degree of Kevin Bacon, which is a Spotify original, and I just love Kevin Bacon. I also love the people at Funny or Die. And Funny or Die created this along with Dan Abramson. And it's a comedy podcast all about this washed-up actor, Randy Beslow, who spent 30 years blaming Kevin Bacon for missing out on the role of Footloose. And he hits rock bottom, and then after hitting rock bottom, he decides to hunt down his celebrity nemesis. And in a twist that neither of them saw coming, Randy becomes his assistant and possibly his new BFF.
Can I just say I don't like Kevin Bacon?
That's fine.
This week in my queue, I have You're Such a Catch podcast hosted by Erin Ramsey. In her podcast, Erin shares what it is to be a successful woman in her late 30s and single, dating in LA. Each episode, she takes us through her journey of dating in the app era, funny stories about dates, and also stories about empowerment and resilience from her guests. Right now, she's doing an empowerment series for women, and the latest episode got me in the feels.
It was a tough one.
She's creating a movement. And
so
listen.
check out You're Such a Catch.
Tip of the week.
Wait till I tell you everything.
All right. So the tip of the week isn't just a tip of the week, but it's also a to-do of the week. So put this on your to-do list.
A tarea.
Yes. If you haven't already gotten your podcast optimized on Podchaser, then you definitely need to go do that. So if you are unfamiliar with Podchaser, it allows you to make a creator profile. You can also claim your podcast name there. And then you can optimize your profiles and make them look pretty and do lots of fun things with them. It's a great place not only for podcast discovery, but also to network. And they are constantly rolling out new features, partnering and new with different companies. One of the things they're doing right now is a place where you can look for podcasts to be a guest on, or for people to be a guest on your podcast. And you can also listen to podcasts on Podchaser as well. And you can follow other creators, and it's just a great place to do networking, and they're growing very
it's a
rapidly.
great place to network and to follow those creators directly. Sometimes you can, on social media, you follow the podcast, but you don't know who's behind the podcast. And this way, Podchaser makes it so we know who are the writers, the creators, the directors, all of the people involved in producing a podcast. We created our profile there. The Pod Sound School is there. I'm there, so you can go and find us when you create your profile. Podchaser just got funded with $1 million, if
I
I'm
think it was
correctly.
1.4 million or something like
Yes.
that. Yeah, so they're growing, and so you could do some. It's also not overly crowded right now. So if you did some like rate review swaps with some of your podcaster friends, and you got a handful of reviews on your Podchaser, you would actually show up, because one of the ways that you can search is by ratings. So that's pretty cool.
Sí, hagan la tarea.
And guys, well, that about does it for another episode of PodBitz.
So like I said, after you do your homework and create your profile in Podchaser, find us and leave a rate and review. Or you can give us some love by leaving a rate and review at ratethispodcast.com/podsoundschool.
Yes. And like always, all of the links to the resources, the podcasts we mentioned, the podcast from our Facebook group members will all be included in the description of this episode that you can find on our podcast. And you follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Pod Sound School.
Join our Facebook community at podsoundschool.com/community. We do a lot of fun things over there.
Yeah. And then
you can
also
communicate directly with us there too.
Yeah. And then come unlock premium access at podsoundschool.com/premium.
There's a lot of goodies there. You don't want to miss out.
Happy casting, guys.
Happy casting.
Laboratories functionally designed for the student's use. The new miracle of modern tools for instruction.